In today's episode of Locked On Oilers, a massive game in Anaheim. What do the Edmonton Oilers need to do to win in a weirdly important game? And we will also have Raphael Lavoie headlining our Bakersfield Condors report. All that and much more on today's episode of Locked On Oilers.
You're Locked On Oilers, your daily podcast on the Edmonton Oilers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to Locked On Oilers podcast. I'm your host and former Oilers game day producer, Brett Holden. As mentioned on today's episode, we're going to start off with the important matchup between the Edmonton Oilers and the Anaheim Ducks as they face off for the second time so far this year, the first time in California. We will talk about that in just a second. But also on today's episode, the three things the Edmonton Oilers need to do to have success on this road trip against the Anaheim Ducks and the San Jose Sharks. That'll be coming up in the second period of today's episode. And to wrap up today's episode, the Bakersfield Condors report, as Raphael Lavoie is headlining today's Bakersfield Condors report, and for good reason. I will explain why he is having a pretty interesting last 24 hours for the Condors, and you know what? It's something I like to see from the kid. All that and much more on today's episode of Locked On Oilers. Thank you so much for making Locked On Oilers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you find your podcasts. Alrighty, today's episode, just before we get into it, will be a little bit of a shorter one today. I'm a little under the weather, but that's okay. We don't care about me. We care about the Edmonton Oilers, and the Edmonton Oilers are going into a very important matchup tonight against the Anaheim Ducks, which is weird to say because the Anaheim Ducks are the 30th place team in the league. The Edmonton Oilers need to grab momentum and need to grab points from teams in their division, especially considering they just lost 2 points to, well, basically 4 points, if you really think about it, to the Los Angeles Kings on Monday. Now the Edmonton Oilers seem to have a little bit of a layup against the Anaheim Ducks, but that has been far from the truth, especially for the Edmonton Oilers against the Ducks. Last time these two teams played on December 17th, which, if I'm not mistaken, was a Sunday. Lucas Dostal absolutely stole the show at Rogers Place. 46 saves on 49 shots as Darnell Nurse, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Connor McDavid getting goals in that one. Derek Ryan and Evan Bouchard getting assists on the first goal. McDavid and Draisaitl getting assists on Nugent's goal, and Draisaitl and Barrie getting assists on McDavid's third goal of the game. Now, there was a play where the Edmonton Oilers could have challenged a call from the refs in that game. They decided not to because they had trust in their team. Turns out the Edmonton Oilers probably should have challenged it because there was a lot of chatter that it could have been a goal. Either way, we move into tonight's game with a lot on the line for the Edmonton Oilers, especially their players too, as it has not been a great start to the season. Now getting into the second game of the second half of the season, and the Edmonton Oilers need to get going. A lot of talk around the lineup today as the Edmonton Oilers had an optional skate, so we won't really know the lineup really until puck drop. Maybe we'll get some line rushes in warm-ups, but other than that, nothing concrete until the game starts. What we do know is Vincent Desharnais will be making his NHL debut tonight for the Edmonton Oilers, the former 7th round pick, 6'6", probably. It depends on where you look. 6'6", 6'7". It's all basically the same if you ask somebody who's under 6 feet. But either way, Vincent Desharnais is getting a game tonight for the Oilers. Now, it sounds like that means the Edmonton Oilers will go with an 11-7 lineup. What might that look like? Well, just as a projection, this is what we got right now. Klim Kostin on the top line alongside Connor McDavid and Kyler Yamamoto. We'll come back to Klim Kostin in just a second. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins alongside Leon Draisaitl and Zach Hyman. I flipped him and McLeod around for now. Fogle alongside Ryan McLeod and Matthias Janmark. And on the bottom line, Dylan Holloway and Jesse Puljujärvi. Now, you can say that's a bottom line, but realistically, between those two players and Dylan Holloway and Jesse Puljujärvi, it's probably going to be Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, Ryan McLeod, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. So, not really a fourth line, a 3B, maybe you can put it like that, but I like those lines either way. The defensive pairings stay the same for the Edmonton Oilers. Darnell Nurse with Cody Ceci, Brett Kulak with Tyson Barrie, Philip Broberg with Evan Bouchard, who has been a pretty surprising pairing over the last couple of games for the Edmonton Oilers, having a good couple of games there. And as mentioned, Vincent Desharnais will get into his first NHL game tonight. Jack Campbell will be in between the pipes tonight for the Oilers as Stuart Skinner is back in Edmonton awaiting the birth of his first child. So that means Calvin Pickard has been called up to the big club for the Edmonton Oilers. He will back up Jack Campbell tonight. Now on the flip side, the Anaheim Ducks. Interesting lineup notes there as it may be 11-7 versus 11-7. For right now, they have, according to Daily Faceoff, I could not find any B reporters for the Ducks reporting on any lines. I believe they also had an optional skate heading into tonight's game. But according to Daily Faceoff, Adam Henrique will line up alongside Mason McTavish and Troy Terry. Trevor Zegras on the second line alongside Ryan Strome, excuse me, and Frankie Vetrano. I always get the Stromes mixed up. It's probably the wrong Strome. I just said both of them. Maybe one of them hit. Either way, Maxime Comtois on the third line alongside Sam Carrick and Jakob Silverberg. And on the fourth line, Max Jones making his return to the lineup alongside Brett Leeson. Now, as mentioned, it sounds like it will be 11-7 for the Ducks. So Cam Fowler on the top pairing alongside former Edmonton Oiler Dmitry Kulikov. Benoit alongside Klingberg. Urho Vakanainen, former first-round picks, alongside Kevin Shattenkirk, and Jason Magna. Sounds like he will be the seventh defenseman tonight. Now, it is unconfirmed as to who will start, as of right now, as of recording this, who will start for the Anaheim Ducks. I'm leaning towards Anthony Stolarz for the Ducks tonight, as John Gibson played last game for the Anaheim Ducks against the Boston Bruins, and that was not pretty. Over the last 5 games, the Anaheim Ducks have gone 2-3-0. And as mentioned, that last game in Boston, a 7-1 loss. 7-1. John Gibson in the net for all 7 of those, which gives me the indication that Stolarz is probably going to start tonight. Also, as mentioned, they do have 2 wins over the last 5 games. Those 2 wins coming over San Jose and Dallas, a 5-4 win versus San Jose, a 2-0 win versus Dallas, and then a 4-1 loss versus Philadelphia, and a 6-1 loss versus Nashville. Now, the Edmonton Oilers, I did mention that I did want to talk about Klim Kostin here. I know a lot of people are probably going, well, he hasn't really done a lot on the top line for the Edmonton Oilers. Goals and production aren't everything. Well, production is a lot of things, but goals isn't everything. What he brings to the ice and what he does when he is on the ice, especially defensively for a team who needs defensive help, is one of the reasons why he's on that top line. He also goes out there and goes into dirty areas. And we saw at the end of the last game, him sticking up for his team, getting that fight. Well, I shouldn't put in quotations fighting. It was a fighting major, and he absolutely cold clocked Brendan Lemieux. And he also got a game misconduct, and that's what I was looking for to put in brackets there. But he did get a game misconduct there. He'll be fine. It doesn't lead to any suspensions in the NHL. But That is why he's on the top line. He goes out there, protects. He has a scoring touch. He's a fantastic skater. And we'll see if things start to pick up for him, especially in a game where, yes, it's a lowly, well, I shouldn't put that in quotations. They are a lowly Anaheim Ducks team, as they are 12-25-4 on the season. But hopefully Kostin will start to find his footing on the top line in tonight's game. Again, I have him alongside Yamamoto. I could see the Oilers possibly putting Zach Hyman on that top line to push him a little more, to give that little extra edge as well for the Oilers. Plus, in the last game, three fights for the Oilers, all from players who don't really show it, other than Kostin, who does already have, I believe, 2 fighting majors now already in the season. Jesse Puljujarvi also dropping the glove, so I could see Puljujarvi getting a little bit of a bump in the lineup, especially with how he played throughout that game in Los Angeles, but we shall see. Again, as mentioned, this game, or the Edmonton Oilers lines, are a little bit wibby-wobbly here. We aren't exactly sure what they will line up with, so we will find out and have a better idea once puck drop comes, 8 o'clock puck drop at the Pond in Anaheim. And what do the Edmonton Oilers need to do tonight, and as well in San Jose on Friday, to recoup this road trip, turn this road trip around, and start on the right foot in the second half? Well, we will talk about those things in just a second, but first, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college bowl season, which, as mentioned, did end the other day, and it was not fantastic. But hey, the rest of the way was pretty fun. Basketball is underway, obviously, and the World Cup may be over, but Southampton, as we are recording this, is currently beating Manchester City in the Carabao Cup. Goodbye, Manchester City. I like it. Either way, if you love sports podcasts, which if you're listening to this one, you probably do, you can find those at BetOnline as well. Head to the website today to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Where we are going to continue today is with the 3 keys to the game, not only against the Anaheim Ducks, but the San Jose Sharks as well. On Friday, as the Edmonton Oilers go from SoCal to NorCal, up towards the Bay Area to San Jose, as the Oilers play San Jose on Friday. So what are the 3 keys to victory for the Edmonton Oilers over this next week? Well, good question. I'm glad you asked. The first key to victory for the Edmonton Oilers is score first. Now, that isn't necessarily a requirement for the Edmonton Oilers, but this is why it's important for the Edmonton Oilers to score first. These 2 teams, the Anaheim Ducks and the San Jose Sharks, are 2 teams who, well, aren't very great this year, and especially going into a game where they have to play Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, the Edmonton Oilers. They know that they need to come out offensively first. They also know that the Edmonton Oilers are struggling defensively. So they are going to go out there and try and score the first goal and rattle the Edmonton Oilers up. Not allow them, to get into a rhythm, play their game, or anything like that. That is why it is important for the Edmonton Oilers to score first in this game. Put the game out of reach early, and that is big for the Edmonton Oilers, especially considering they need to control a game. Their best games so far this year have been, I don't want to say mediocre, but the games that they have absolutely shut down and dominated the opposition, I just don't think they really have. So the Edmonton Oilers need to have one of those games where it's just out of hand, and that starts off with the first goal. The second key to victory for the Edmonton Oilers against the San Jose Sharks and the Anaheim Ducks is to not let Anaheim or San Jose back into the game, or into the game in general. This kind of goes hand in hand with scoring the first goal. As mentioned, the Edmonton Oilers, especially as of late, or especially this year, have had a very difficult time putting teams away. At times, they've been able to have mature third periods, but it hasn't been all the time, and that has really deterred the Edmonton Oilers, especially at home when they have blown multiple 2-goal leads and losing those games. On top of it, look at even Colorado just recently on the weekend. The Edmonton Oilers need to hammer down on the Ducks and the Sharks, especially considering these two teams don't have really the talent that can pull them out of the hole if they need them to, especially against a team like the Edmonton Oilers. Yes, they have guys like Trevor Zegras, Mason McTavish, all those types of players, and that's fair enough, but they aren't Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. You can say the same with San Jose as well. You got guys like Erik Karlsson, Timo Meier, almost said Timo Werner, who's a soccer player. But they also don't have the cast around them that can help them get out of the hole there. So the Edmonton Oilers need to absolutely hammer their opposition, not only tonight, but on Friday as well. And the third and final key for the Edmonton Oilers to victory against the Anaheim Ducks and the San Jose Sharks is support Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell will get to start both games against the Anaheim Ducks and the San Jose Sharks as Stuart Skinner awaits the birth of his first child. Calvin Pickard, as mentioned, did get the call up and will be backing up. But the Edmonton Oilers need to support Campbell, not only on the score sheet, but in his own end. Communicate, block shots, make it hard for the opposition to get shots. And if they are shooting, make sure it's from the perimeter. Make sure Jack Campbell can see every possible shot he can and make him make the save and help him make the save. Be communicative. Let him know where the puck is. Let him know if it's right at his feet or in front of him or wherever it may be. The Edmonton Oilers need to support him, and that is in their own end. End cycles. Be physical in your own end. Make sure the other team can't get momentum and get to Jack Campbell. Easier said than done, obviously, as we've seen with the Edmonton Oilers, but Jack Campbell needs that support from the Edmonton Oilers. And if the Edmonton Oilers can do that, well, they might be in pretty good waters there. Haha, get it? Anaheim Ducks, San Jose Sharks. Either way, just to wrap up, the three keys to victory for the Edmonton Oilers against the Ducks and Sharks. The first one, score first. Make sure it is out of hand early, okay? Make sure you get the lead. Don't let the other team get into a little bit of a rhythm. And don't let the other team get you out of your rhythm. The second thing, do not let Anaheim or San Jose into the game. Once you score that first goal, score the second, score the third, score the fourth, heck, score the fifth. Why not? Do not let the San Jose Sharks or the Anaheim Ducks into this game, or it could spell trouble. And finally, the third key to victory for the Oilers, support Jack Campbell. Give him some sort of ending cycle play, or cycle ending play. There we go. Words are fun. Give him some sort of cycle ending play. Communicate with him. Keep shots to the perimeter and support him. If the Oilers do those three things, they will cruise into Vegas with a lot of very positive habits, and they will get Stuart Skinner back after the birth of his first child. All that leads into our next and final segment of the day, the Bakersfield Condors report. As mentioned, Raphael Lavoie is headlining the Edmonton Oilers, or the Bakersfield Condors report, and he didn't score. That's the thing. He hasn't scored in the last two games for the Bakersfield Condors. Since the last time we talked about the Condors, only 2 games for the Condors. They're both in Calgary and both unfortunate losses for the Condors. The first game, a 2-1 loss at the Saddle Dome on January 8th. James Hamblin getting the goal in that one for the Condors. Vincent Desharnais also getting an assist in that one. After that game, that was when he got the call up to the NHL. He mentioned in a couple of interviews recently, since being called up, he was disappointed getting the loss, but he said honestly he cried after getting the call up and being called called into his coach's office. A little bit of an odd feeling getting called up after the losses. He said he really wanted that win, but as mentioned, Vincent Desharnais getting an assist in that one anyways. And Seth Griffith, of course, I'm not shocked, getting an assist in this one as well. His 18th assist of the season. James Hamblin's 4th goal of the year. Calvin Pickard started that game, against the Wranglers. 21 saves on 23 shots. Not a bad game for Pickard there. And then just last night, on January 10th, the Bakersfield Condors played again last night against the Wranglers. A 4-3 loss there, but a lot to talk about in regards to this game, especially around Raphael Lavoie. But first, the goal scorers in that game. Alex Peters getting his 3rd goal of the season, as Justin Bailey getting his 7th assist on the year. Yes, his 7th. And you might remember that he didn't join the team until November, I believe, if not December. So as Bruce Kurlock has mentioned, who watches a lot of Bakersfield Condors games last month, he has been, or since the return, he has been the Condors' best player. That is why he warranted an NHL contract, signing with the Edmonton Oilers just last week, if I'm not mistaken. As mentioned, Bailey getting his 7th assist there. Then Dino Cambites getting a goal, the 2nd goal of the game for the Condors. Greg McKegg getting his 6th assist on the season in that one. And Max Gilden, now this won't be the first time you hear his name in this report. He gets his 3rd assist of the season on Cambites' goal. But then he would go on to get his 4th assist on the season on Noah Phillips' goal that actually tied up the game in the 3rd period. Yanni Caldes also getting the assist on that one, but Max Gilden getting 2 points in this one, 2 assists as well. Unfortunately for the Condors, the Wranglers would score in the 18th minute of the period. I'm not very good at math, but that is about 2 minutes left in the game. A minute. You're not here to see me do math. Either way, the Bakersfield Condors lost late in that one, unfortunately for them. But Olivier Rodrigue had a very solid game, 26 saves on 30 shots towards him. Now, late in that game, or during that game, during his 2nd shift in the 3rd period, Raphael Lavoie went out there and laid a licking on Cole Schwindt of the Calgary Wranglers. Now, you might remember Schwindt from the trade from the Florida Panthers in return for Matthew Tkachuk. Raphael Lavoie, after that fight, stared down Coach Colin Chaulk all the way to the penalty box, bumped into the scorekeeper who was holding the door open for him. Well, he bumped into the boards, who was behind the scorekeeper there, or in front of the scorekeeper, and stared down the bench at his coach afterwards. You must be wondering why. Why was he doing that? Well, in the 2nd period, Raphael Lavoie was benched after a bad penalty, I believe it was, in that game. And he ended up getting, as mentioned, benched in the 2nd period, only came out for a couple shifts in the 3rd, and in that 2nd shift, dropped the gloves with Cole Schwindt. A great, great battle for him. And it's big for him. We've heard a lot of negative things around Coach Colin Chaulk and negative things when it comes to development and playing players who need development, not guys like Greg McKegg and Brad Malone, but more guys like Xavier Bourgault and Raphael Lavoie and Carter Savoy, Ty Tullio, Olivier Rodrigue, Michael Kesselring, Vinny Desharnais. There's been a lot of disdain around how Coach Colin Chaulk has played this past season, especially considering the Condors aren't doing very well this year. But in his last 8 games, Raphael Lavoie has scored 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points, had that fight, and it's very big to see and very good to see a player have a fire under his butt a little bit. He was mad. He was mad. If you go to Bruce Kurlock at B Kurlock on Twitter, he has a clip of the fight, well, actually the post-fight, and him skating off to the penalty box and the whole situation there. It's a very interesting watch, especially considering once he got released from the penalty box, once he left the penalty box and served his 5-minute major, all of the Bakersfield Condors stood up and banged their sticks along the boards for him. It was something that was very appreciated by the Condors players. Then, once Lavoie returned to the bench, Coach Chalk spoke to him for a good while, Kurlock said, and Lavoie had nothing for him. No response, no anything. It just seemed like he didn't have the time of day for him. Maybe there's a little bit of a losing the locker room for Coach Colin Chalk right now in Bakersfield. I wouldn't be shocked, especially seeing how a lot of these players have been deployed so far this year. But Lavoie did end up coming out for the Condors in the 6-on-5 situation for Bakersfield late in the game. So showing a little bit of trust for a player who went out there and gave it all in that third period. So really good to see Raphael Lavoie really starting to show that development. Now, we talked about yesterday patience with prospects. Now, I watched Raphael Lavoie in his draft year. I liked what he did in junior hockey. I thought he was a very good junior hockey player, but I wasn't sure how his skills would translate to the major leagues. Now we're starting to see it materialize a little bit here in Bakersfield, and hopefully we're starting to see a good development turn for Raphael Lavoie. Now, some news coming out for Bakersfield as well. Some positive news for Bakersfield as Seth Griffith getting the AHL All-Star nod. I'm not shocked as Seth Griffith has 9 goals, 18 assists, 27 points so far this year. He is second on the team in goals, first on the team in assists, and first on the team in points. Michael Kesselring has 10 goals on the year so far, leading the Bakersfield Condors, and Xavier Bourgault third on the team with goals with 8. Assists, as mentioned, Seth Griffith tops the Condors with 18 assists. Jason Demers, second on the Condors with 11 assists, and Luke Esposito has 10 in third. And Seth Griffith leads the team in points with 27. Xavier Bourgault second with 15, and Michael Kesselring with 13. That has been your Bakersfield Condors report. A little bit of a California flavor for you on today's episode, but either way, let's wrap it up. There is the Edmonton Oilers face off against the Anaheim Ducks tonight. 8 o'clock puck drop at the Pond in Anaheim at the Honda Center. Tomorrow, we are going to have a very, very special show as we are going to talk to JD from Locked On Sharks and preview the game for the Edmonton Oilers and the San Jose Sharks there. But before then, the Oilers and Ducks tonight, 8 o'clock. Hopefully at the end of that one, we can play La Bamba, baby.